Found footage horror movies, you know them, you love them, but you probably don't have time to watch the hundreds of new ones every year to see which ones are worth watching. Luckily, you found the YouTube channel of someone who's possibly more obsessed with horror than even you, and I'm about to save you hours of doom scrolling with this list of 7 found footage horror movies that you should definitely check out if you are into this subgenre. Along with this video, I made a streaming guide that you can access by scanning this QR code up here. In this video, I will be telling you where they're currently streaming right now, but if that changes in the future, you're going to want that streaming guide because it will update in real time and it'll tell you where it's streaming at any point that you visit that site. So it's a really handy guide that I've made for you guys to follow along. Again, you can scan this QR code to access that. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy talking about horror movies all year long. Let's talk found footage. Dream Eater is one of the darkest found footage horror films of the year, both visually and in terms of subject matter. The setup is simple but incredibly unnerving. A filmmaker documents her boyfriend's violent parasomnia during a quiet getaway in a remote cabin. And what starts as sleepwalking quickly spirals into something far more sinister, and the movie lets you sit in that dread for long stretches of time. Most of the runtime is spent watching our main character Alex drift through these horrifying nighttime episodes. And even without giving anything away, I can say the places that this story eventually goes are bleak, like truly dark, and that's really all I'll say without spoiling anything. What makes Dream Eater stand out visually is its realism. Yes, it's found footage, but it also includes some music and B-roll sprinkled in, something that a lot of people will criticize for found footage films, like how did all this get there? But it really doesn't matter. But luckily it actually makes sense here. The girlfriend is a professional filmmaker and she's using a $6,000 camera, so the footage just looks unusually clean and cinematic for the genre. But this also cuts down on shaky cam, which is always a blessing. The film has Eli Roth's name attached, which definitely helped build hype, similar to how Shelby Oaks benefited from having Mike Flanagan on its poster. But to be clear, Roth didn't creatively shape this one, it's just under his horror section production banner. The actual writing, directing, and acting come from the two leads themselves, and they reportedly had to star in it because the physical demands of certain scenes would have been too intense and, quite frankly, too expensive for hired actors. That indie grit really pays off. The performances feel raw and exhausted in a way that fits the story. The atmosphere is where Dream Eater truly shines. The isolated winter setting, the sound design, the cold visuals, and the found footage intimacy all work together to create this suffocating sense of dread. Even if some scares rely on the jump scare aspect, the tension leading up to them is strong enough that it doesn't really feel cheap. My biggest gripe with the film was the marketing. This thing was hyped forever as the most terrifying film of the year, and no one was really telling us when we'd actually be able to see it. We can watch it now, obviously, but no movie can live up to that level of chatter. But even with the overhype, Dream Eater is atmospheric, unnerving, and absolutely worth watching. You can currently only rent or buy Dream Eater, but hopefully it comes to a streaming service sometime soon. For Dream Eater and others in this list, you can either use the link in the description or the streaming guide for links to rent and buy. Shelby Oaks is one of the most ambitious found footage hybrids to come out in a long time, especially considering it's the feature debut of Chris Stuckman, who most people know from his years of movie reviews here on YouTube. The film follows a woman investigating the disappearance of her sister more than a decade earlier, and it starts off with a surprisingly effective mockumentary approach, talking head interviews, documentary-style handheld footage, and a real sense of mystery building piece by piece. This first half is easily the movie's strongest stretch. It feels grounded, eerie, and emotionally heavy in a way that pulls you right into the investigation. Eventually, the movie transitions into a more traditional narrative format, and while the switch has a clear catalyst, the second half never fully matches the momentum or cohesion of the opening. There was a lot of hype behind this movie after Mike Flanagan came on board as an executive producer, and the team reportedly spent around $1 million, I believe, on reshoots to rework major sections of the story. And while the changes apparently helped streamline certain plot points, you can still feel some of the seams there. The back half gets a little muddier, and a few of the character decisions fall into that classic horror territory of why would you do that? And along with that, the film also leans on other horror movie tropes that I believe Stuckman probably would have criticized in his earlier review days. On a technical level, though, Shelby Oaks looks undeniably good, especially once it shifts into the narrative portion. The cinematography is polished, the lighting is moody, and there's a professionalism to the visuals that elevates the overall feel. The creature effects involve dogs in this one, and apparently they used real dogs for it, but the CGI kind of takes me out of it. It's just a CGI vibe that doesn't quite land for me. Despite early marketing calling it the most terrifying horror film of the year, this is more an entry-level mystery horror, if I'm being honest, than an all-out scare fest. It's atmospheric, intriguing, and at times emotionally resonant, even if it doesn't fully stick the landing. It's kind of like a huge mashup of Blair Witch Project, Rosemary's Baby, Hereditary, and Lake Mungo. If you go in expecting a creepy, engaging mystery rather than the next genre-defining nightmare that it was marketed to be, Shelby Oaks is still a solid and admirable first film from Stuckman. The film is not currently streaming, but you can rent or buy it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll let you guys know once it gets picked up by a streaming service. Strange Harvest beautifully combines aspects from found footage, cosmic horror, and mockumentary to bring us one of the biggest surprises of the year in the horror genre. On the surface, it looks like a straightforward serial killer flick, detectives hunting down a sadistic murderer known as Mr. Shiny, a figure from the past whose return sparks a wave of grotesque, ritualistic killings. But what the trailer doesn't really prepare you for is the framing device. The whole movie plays out like a true crime documentary, complete with interviews, reenactments, and case footage stitched together into this tight 90-minute investigation. We spend a lot of time with the two main detectives on the case, and they carry the narrative beautifully. The dialogue feels natural and never drifts into that corny faux doc territory that some found footage movies fall into. This thing is absolutely True Detective Season 1 coded. It has the same sweaty, eerie, cosmic horror lurking under the surface vibe, just dialed into the found footage format instead of prestige HBO drama. That Nick Pizzolatto atmosphere is all over it, even if it's not quite on that level. But still, Strange Harvest knows exactly what kind of story it wants to tell, and it does it with confidence. Every new clue, every piece of evidence, every unsettling interview pulls you deeper in. It's one of those movies where you kind of feel like you're sitting right there next to the detectives, piecing the mystery together in real time. And then, of course, there's the Mr. Shiny. His mask alone is nightmare fuel, but the film keeps playing with the idea that maybe he's not just some ordinary man with a taste for cruelty. The ritualistic nature of the killings hints at something bigger, something cosmic, and by the time the supernatural element finally creeps its way into frame around the halfway point or so, the movie shifts from unnerving true crime doc into are we about to witness an actual otherworldly event territory. The cosmic horror never fully explains itself, as it shouldn't in cosmic horror, but it leaves plenty of room for interpretation and theories. And there's even a post-credits stinger that teases the possibility of a sequel. Honestly, Strange Harvest feels like a hidden gem, one I barely heard anything about before watching, and I'm thrilled I took the chance. It's gripping, sinister, and totally ethereal in that cosmic horror way. In short, it's just a terrific film. Go watch it. Strange Harvest is currently only available on VOD. You can rent or buy it in the description or using that streaming guide. Now, if you liked Strange Harvest, you'll also like this next film on the list, which shares a lot of similarities. Project MKHEXE is presented as a lost, unfinished documentary that was uploaded to the internet in 2014. Tim films his brother Sean's funeral after his suicide and then uncovers Sean's fixation with a non-existent online urban legend about a failed government mind control experiment. It turns out Sean was snooping around an obscure internet urban legend called Project MKHEXE. Tim thinks he was killed because of what he found out and must set out to prove it. The premise alone drew me in. I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy theory, and lingering on the outside of that main plot is also Tim and his family just grieving over the loss of Sean. About the plot, this happens with conspiracy theories most of the time anyway when you dig deep enough, but the plot becomes a bit convoluted and confusing at times, but you've just kind of got to go with the flow and let this movie happen to you. This movie is intriguing, creepy, and it's going to feel like you're on a roller coaster ride as Tim unravels the mystery behind what his brother was doing and what led to his death. Like I said, this movie would make a great double feature with Strange Harvest or even something like the Banshee chapter because of the interwoven mockumentary technique and the ties to cosmic horror. Project MKHEXE is perfect for lovers of mystery horror and conspiracy theories. It's soaked in digital paranoia and oozes with tension and atmosphere. It's currently streaming on Prime Video. This next flick is one of the funniest movies I've seen all year, and it's an absolute hidden gem with only 758 reviews on IMDb. After you watch it, make sure to go show some love for it over on IMDb. But it's called Found Footage, The Making of the Patterson Project. A crew of documentarians chronicle an amateur filmmaker's quest to make the world's greatest found footage horror film. That's right, it's basically a film within a film, which is one of my favorite structures in found footage. If you're a Bigfoot nerd, you may be connected that the Patterson Project is referring to infamous Bigfoot footage captured by Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin in 1967. The movie is basically making fun of that situation and showing up behind the scenes of that footage being created. The movie is intelligently funny, constantly making references that at least I understand and appreciate, like they tell an investor that Alan Rickman is going to star in the film to get her money, even though he's dead, and they get Danielle Radcliffe to star in the movie rather than Daniel Radcliffe. It's just silly shit like that. In cliche fashion, they accidentally unleash something evil while filming this movie, so there are a few potentially chilling scenes sprinkled in. The actors are firing on all cylinders in this one, and it's just an overall fun time. This movie transcends the horror genre and I think would be funny to the mainstream, so we just gotta get a few more eyes on it. This movie is also streaming on Prime Video like Project MKHEXE. For the second time on this list, we have a found footage horror film that was created by folks who got their start on social media. House on Eden was created by TikTokers Chris Collins and Selena Myers, known as Call Me Chris and Selena Spooky Boo online, respectively. Paranormal investigators Chris, Selena, and their videographer Jay are rerouted to an abandoned house deep in the woods where they find themselves facing a force unlike anything they've encountered before. As the night spirals into chaos, missing crew members and eerie phenomena hint at an ancient, malevolent presence watching their every move. Okay, I'm just now realizing a lot of cosmic horror found footage happening here. A lot of these movies I'm talking about feel like there's something bigger, there's some deeper meaning, the cosmic aspect of it. So maybe that's just the current wave. Moving on. I'll be straight up honest with you, you've got to go into this one knowing it's not great. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but I bet you've put on plenty of movies, especially found footage ones, knowing it's not going to be good, but rather fun, and House on Eden falls under that umbrella. This movie averages a 2.0 on Letterboxd, which I think is a little harsh. It definitely gets an A for effort. It's just a fun little low-budget film between friends. And obviously, if you're a fan of Chris and Selena already, you'll enjoy this film. They basically just play themselves, so you can expect to see a lot of their quirky mannerisms and chemistry that they've built up over the past few years. And of the movies on this list, House on Eden can probably be the last one you worry about, like the one you throw on when there's really nothing else to watch. It really best serves as a look into the current state of social media influencers getting their foot in the door when it comes to filmmaking. You can go watch House on Eden on Shudder right now. We have another collection of segments under the famed VHS franchise, one of my favorites. This time around, they're all centered around Halloween. It's honestly surprising that it took so long for this theme to come to light. The overarching narrative in this one is about a focus group where multiple subjects are brought in to test out a new soda called Diet Phantasma before it's put on store shelves. Yet another seemingly innocent and tame scenario that horror has ruined for us at this point. They get bonkers with this one. Other segment plot points include 2 high school students who want to have one last night of trick-or-treating with gruesome consequences. The sole survivor of a massacre is accompanied by the police to the original crime scene in order to help them piece together the events of that fateful night. We have more. 4 teenagers stumble upon a bowl of Halloween candy and ignore its instructions to consume only one per person. A store that specializes in video IDs becomes the center of the very thing it's trying to prevent, the kidnapping of children. And a family's yearly Halloween tradition of creating a homemade haunted house is upended when its newest addition, a mysterious cursed LP, brings the various monsters to life. As can be expected with the VHS franchise, this installment has segments that are better than others. There's 2 in particular that really stood out in this Halloween edition, and those would be Kid Print and Home Haunt. It seems like the filmmakers chosen for these movies really use it as a playground to push boundaries and try new ideas, which I absolutely love and I believe is pushing the genre forward. VHS Halloween, like House on Eden, is currently streaming on Shudder. Found footage horror is alive and well, and unfortunately we have to be pummeled by some stinkers to get to the gold mine, but that's just how it is. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and comment down below if you want a part 2. If you've exhausted this list of movies and you're looking for more great horror movies to watch, make sure to check out this playlist in the corner here where I go over various streaming services and the horror movies that are currently on them. Subscribe if you enjoy talking about horror movies all year long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.